Hi, everybody. Welcome to Open Book Wednesdays. If you're coming in live or if you're on the replay, you don't really have to catch up. Um, you don't have to comment if you don't want to. You don't have to explain anything. You can just kind of sit here with me for the next hour. This is a really calm space where uh, we don't explain, we don't perform. We're not going to try to fix each other or ourselves. We are simply slowing down in the middle of the week because how often do we actually get to do that? So I want you guys to just take a moment and close your eyes and kind of go to your safe space, go to your peaceful place, whether that's with God. I'll explain mine. Mine is it's right at the embankment of a river through some trees. Everything's flat. The river's very steady. There's rocks and a little bit of sand. But if you look over about 200 yards, there's a waterfall towards the left. And the waterfall picks up the sunlight and it creates a never ending rainbow. That reminds me of God's promise. Um, there's a log, and then there's some chairs made of logs. There's also having a little bit of reverb. There's also some there you are. To the right, there's some animals. There's a bunch of different dogs on that little plateau to the right, and that's my little happy place. I tend to get overwhelmed about a lot of different things. I don't know why I have so much static in this right now. Hello, testing, testing, testing. One moment, guys. Having technical issues. Hello, testing, testing. Okay, that's a little better. I go to that place simply to unwind. There's something I suggest to people, and one of the things is to have yourself a space that allows you, even in the middle of the day, like do a time management log, really map out what your week truly looks like and be honest. Don't try to plan or anything like that. Just get a piece of paper, uh, get a pencil or pen or a marker, and across the top, Sunday through Saturday, and then across the side, we're going to do 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. So 24 hours. You're going to fill in the times that you sleep. You're going to fill in the times that you're getting ready with the kids or getting ready for yourself for work, or if you have house chores, whatever it is during your day. Go over the last week, from the last full week, Sunday to Saturday, and really get that all dialed out, because you need to find some space. I take space every day to regulate myself and unwind. Sometimes it looks like I am spending 5 minutes just in prayer and meditation. Other times it's where I'm just sitting and really doing nothing, to be honest, not doing anything. I'll sit in my living room, um, and I know this is strange, but I turn the breaker off to the house so I can't hear any electricity or any appliances running, and everything's completely quiet. Everything's completely quiet, and I'll just sit there and just sit. I don't think about anything. I just try to clear my mind, and it's very, very relaxing. But I didn't really believe I had time. That came from really making excuses on why I didn't have time to pray. I would make excuses. But whatever yours is, I would give you a side challenge to map your week out and really see how what time you actually have to spend. You can spend that time investing it in a skill. You can invest that time into a hobby, building your business or your brand, whatever it is. But we got to find that time first. And so I call this open book on Wednesdays because there are some things that we do need to do alone, but I don't believe that healing really happens when we're isolated. And so I kept getting all of these warnings: don't isolate, don't isolate. So if you're like me, um, where you truly need to be alone to think, I don't call that space that I take and that I need isolation, because I am not keeping myself away from people to stay away from people. I'm keeping myself away so that I can hear God. It has to be quiet, because even sometimes the voices that have good intentions can get in the way of your discernment and what God's telling you to do next. Um, and it gets in the way. It really does. It's like it's a nice thing to do. It seems like it's a good thing to do, but it's getting in the way of what God tells you to do sometimes. Um, and with that, I try to make sure that I'm not just spending that time to regulate myself and things like that. I also make sure that my mind and my body and my energy is on put, because I lose energy when I'm interacting socially too much. um, I know it sounds strange if you're not like that, but I am absolutely that person that if I talk too long to people, I'm drained. And so with being drained, I need to take some time to just build that energy back up, because there are people. Hi Salem, thank you. There are people that intentionally drain it, and then there's those who do it unintentionally. They don't really know they're doing it. So if you are like me, it's okay to get into your quiet space and really sit so that you can hear what God has to say. Because sometimes people tell you, this is a great thing to do, and it might be a great thing to do. But I always think about when I die, I have to look at God, and I don't want him to ask me, why didn't you do what I said? And my excuse would be, because I did this nice thing that somebody suggested that I should do. That makes no sense to me. And I know it's not going to make any sense to him, because I have to answer to him. And I had to learn how important it was to tell people no, and to protect my space, and um so I can keep hearing him. Because I'm going to tell you, like, for myself, like, I really truly had a hard time for about 11 years hearing what it is I was supposed to do. It was always there. I'm not going to say like he didn't ever say it. I just didn't listen to it because, again, as I stated on my last live, I was a people pleaser. I wanted to make everybody happy. And the reality is, I'm not here to make everybody happy. I'm here to make him happy. I'm here to make God happy. And so I had to learn how to say no, and not right now, and that's not, and it was hard at first, but it became a lot easier when my focus shifted from they're going to be mad at me to God's going to be mad at me if I don't do what he says. Um, and so for a long time, I thought I had to wait until I was healed to say something. Um, I really had it in my mind that people didn't want to hear from someone who was broken, someone who didn't have it all together, someone who was confused and lost. Um, and so it took me forever to say anything to anybody about anything I was going through, anything I was feeling. It wasn't until it was like publicized and it was like, yeah, I've been going through a crazy time. Um, I always went to writing because it was my way of getting it out. But really, there is power in community. There's power in having people around you that really do care about you and love you. And I never really leaned into that because, like I just stated, even good intentions and good advice can be in the way of what God is telling you to do. Um, so I learned that, writing and being reflective was how I was meeting God in the middle of my mess. And you know, it really didn't register at first until, it did. So, if you were like many people in our American society, I'm not sure where anybody's watching from, but in America, we have this thing where if you're not smiling, we're failing. If your face isn't pleasant, unfortunately, I've been blessed with a face that rests. I'm not going to say what it is, but RBF. Like, I tend not to smile. And when I do smile, it's not that I don't want to smile, it's that my brain kind of analyzes so much stuff at one time that smiling isn't at the top of my list. So if we're not smiling about something someone said or did, we're ungrateful for them taking that time to, give us the compliment or uh, show us appreciation. But that's not that doesn't equal doing faith incorrectly. That you're not always smiling and bubbly and happy-go-lucky. One of the best things about us is that we are individuals, and as individuals, we tend to show how we are in different ways, and that's super important. Like, I can't understand how we are all supposed to be conformed into like society's ideal of how we're supposed to act. I'm not always happy. No, I'm not always sad. But I'm also not always smiling. But that doesn't mean I'm angry. It just means, I'm actually human. Um, and so I wanted to read something from my book since it is open book. I'm just going to kind of flip to it. I have to change out this cord. One minute. My dryer has been the noisiest this morning. It's ever is. It's never this noisy. All right. So, where is it? I was just gonna flip to it, but I do have a couple of. It's in chapter 3, and it's renewing the mind and rewriting the story in my head. Trauma doesn't always wound the body; it rewires the mind. It teaches you to expect abandonment, betrayal, and chaos, It tells you that safety is a myth, love is dangerous, and hope is foolish. These are the lies I had to face, lies I didn't even know I was living by. Uh, this is the Bible verse that pertains to kind of what I was just describing. Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Um, it's so important that we do not feed into what so-called society's expectations of us are to be. Now, I'm not saying be an anarchist, right? I'm not saying to completely go against, having a healthy life. Absolutely not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that that sun's blasting me out again. It's all right. We're so, uh, it's become pretty normal that I was called rude. um, I was in a store. And while I was in the store, this lady was smiling at me, and I didn't feel like smiling. And I saw her smiling the whole time, staring at me while she's coming this way, I'm going that way. And I saw her smiling. I just didn't smile. It's not anything about the way she looked or anything like that. It was simply, I didn't feel like it. She said hi when she got a little bit closer. She was about 4 feet away. I said, hello, happy whatever day it is, because I tend to say happy Wednesday, those type of things. Um, Sidebar, I learned that if I say, how are you, people tell me exactly how they are. And sometimes I'm just not mentally in that space to accept being dumped on, because a lot of people end up just dumping information. And so I said, happy whatever. And by the time she got almost past me, she goes, you're rude. And I was like, and I kept walking. I normally would have said something, the old Stacey would have said something, but I don't know, whatever. I wasn't rude. I just wasn't, I don't have to smile because somebody smiles at me. I don't have to conform to what society deems normal because you see me and you want acknowledgement from me, or you think I want acknowledgement from you. And when it doesn't happen that way, you are rude. Like, also goes into one of my essays where if I'm not being obedient the way you want me to be obedient, then I'm dishonoring God. That's not true. It's not true. And so a lot of times we tend to create this fake version of ourselves, and it's just so much nicer just being exactly who you are and being honest about who you are. Um, it's it's like a release. You are giving yourself the permission to let go of all of the lies that you have told yourself. And those lies normally came from someone else, and you just started telling yourself the lie because it's just that easy to do. And so we're not supposed to conform. We're supposed to be exactly who we are, whether other people like it or not. And that's just the bottom line. Because how can you find what your purpose is if you're pretending to be somebody else? You're going to miss it. I'm reading this book. I'll probably put it in the comments after this live, because it's all the way in the living room that way. But 4,000 weeks. That's how it started. 4,000 weeks. That's what we get. If we're lucky, we could get 5. If we live to like 95 to 100, we can get about 6,000 some odd. But we don't have that much time here. And I just really decided that I'm not going to waste the time I have here pretending to be someone else. My mom, when I was a little girl, she had talked to me about this, and she had told me, in the grand scheme of things, we are just a blink. Our life is a blink. Um, and so we have to do the best we can in being honest and following God. And I was young, and so I took that in. Well, it wasn't that I was young, it's that I've always been literal. I took it in literally. And when I read that portion of the book last night, I started a book last night. Yeah, we're not here that long at all. And with all of the different decisions and choices that I've had to make and will have to make, um, I don't want one of those decisions to be stepping away from. Thank you for the hearts. I really appreciate them. Um, I don't want one of those decisions to be away from what I'm supposed to do. So I've always tried to be exactly who I am, right? And I've always done my best to be honest with who I am. There are still things I'm learning about myself at 40. Um, but I know that as I'm learning those about myself, I am steady progressing in the direction that my calling is. Do I fully understand it? No, not at all. If I said, no, I know exactly what's going to happen and what I'm going to do, I'd be lying. Um, Sometimes it's revealed what the very next step is. Sometimes I don't know the very next step. Other times it's revealed what the next 20 steps are. And even with those 20 steps, they all have like different bullet points under it. And sometimes I know them, sometimes I don't. Um, I just have to stay in a space where I'm listening. I'm listening. And that takes a little practice. And that's why I said earlier, try to um, find some time to do a time management longer, really see where you can fit that space into your life. It's not to time manage yourself to say, "Ooh, I'm doing so great with everything I have going." It's really to find time to reinvest into figuring out, what am I supposed to be doing here within the 4,000 weeks that I'm granted. The one thing I learned about healing is that it's not always productive. Sometimes it looks like um, just sitting still while everything else is moving around. You ever seen those movies where they have the person walking through like a a town or like a city, and it's a lot of people walking around them, but the people are in fast forward. This was really popular, I think, like in the late 90s for music videos, I think, where that that person, the main character, is walking normally, kind of a little slow motion sometimes, but everything else is zipping around them. Um, Sometimes we have to force ourselves to let everything else zip around us, but we're such control freaks that we don't, because we want to control every aspect of our lives. If you're a parent, you want to make sure your child is doing exactly everything that you expect of them. If you're a spouse, you are keeping an eye on the temperament, the emotions, the physical, the mental, the spiritual of your partner, of your spouse. If you're a worker, you want to make sure everything that you are connected with is going smoothly so that you keep your job. And there are different areas of our life that we can control, but with my experience as a mother, you can't control who your kids turn out to be. You can control what you choose to teach them. You can control what type of routines are ingrained in them with healthy habits, but who they choose to be once they're adults, that's something that you have to sit back and sit still and watch. You can always mediate and counsel, but I mean, in so many different categories of our lives, there's, we need to just let things kind of keep going sometimes. And if it's for us to step into it, we'll know. Um, Sometimes healing looks like well, I'm gonna tell you what it doesn't look like. It doesn't look like forcing joy. Joy is something that comes from the Lord, and you have to experience that joy to understand it. And there's some preliminary work to be done to getting that to that point. And it sounds like it's hard and difficult, but it's not. It's pretty simple. Um, if you want to do it, if you choose to do it, if you choose it every time and every day. Um, but it's not forcing it. That's not what healing looks like. It's that goes back to what I was saying earlier, where we tend to want to please of other people. I have the confidence in saying that everything that I say, do, wear is not for nobody else. It's for me. It's not for another human. So me not caring what other people think is because I know I'm not doing this for you. I'm not I'm not your gladiator and I'm not here to entertain you. So I was telling this young lady the other Sunday evening when I went live, she was complimenting me. And it's nice to get compliments, but I'll repeat it. I don't care. Thank you, but so what? So what? Um, that's not the goal. The focus and the goal has nothing to do with Stacey at all. And if it did, then um, those type of things would be like gravy to a biscuit. They'd be soaked up. But everything that I'm doing and saying is not to impress anybody. I don't care about impressing people. As I stated earlier, the only thing I care about is when I'm being questioned by the Lord and I don't want Him to ask me why I didn't do something that He said. That's my whole thing. I don't want to get to the end of all of this and completely have failed. I'd rather now fail in book sales, right? Because I did what he said. I'd fail in followers. I will fail in spelling words correctly. I would fail at this podcast. I will fail here. If I know that I still did what my father told me to do. So none of it is for me. And so I have a peace and I have a joy in what I'm doing. Is it uncomfortable sometimes? Yes. It's very uncomfortable at times where I feel like I don't want to do this. This morning, I had to look at myself in the mirror and say, I don't care if you don't want to do it. You are going to go do it. If you get the space and time today, you're going to do it. And guess what God did? Canceled my first session. So here I am doing it. It's it's not a joy that I can force. And you could look at my face and be like, she's really serious. No, right now I'm super happy. I made a great cup of coffee this morning. I had an awesome have had an awesome week so far, with the kids and my husband. Um, I'm 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 elated right now, but you can't see that from me not, you know, being all bubbly and hype. That's just not the person I am unless the situation calls for it. Um, and then healing also, it it sometimes looks like when we choose our honesty over our performance. Um, outside of, just talking and speaking to people, outside of that, um, there's spaces where, personal spaces in my life, where my honesty has created safe spaces for me and others that I hold close. I felt like, for a while, I felt like I always tried to hold that space for other people, but I never held that space for myself. I just want to take a moment to pause really quickly. Thank you for joining Open Book Wednesdays. This is where we have some discussion, and we have, uh, I just sit here and kind of talk and get the vibe down a little bit. There's so much going on, especially on this TikTok app. I scroll so many people's lives, and it's just like, everybody wants followers. I get it. And that's really nice. And I do join those rooms sometimes cuz sometimes it's fun. But I wanted to bring a different vibe on Wednesdays because um we don't ever get to really slow down in the middle of the week. So this is just a kind of reminder to slow down, wind down a little bit, um before you have to get back to your regularly scheduled life, right? So thank you for joining me. My goal today, I'm looking for 3 more followers. So if you could share my life, that would be great. See if anybody wants to follow me there. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you, Action Jackson. Jackson. That's a mouthful. Jackson. It's like Dr. Seuss. But thank you so much. Sorry about that. That's a little personal. Get that down. But thank you so much, everybody who's joining. I have a new episode on Spotify coming out next Monday. Um, I'm If you're interested, I would love to have you as a guest. If you're interested in the type of content that I make, or you have anything to say to it and you're not too shy to talk. Um, oh, thank you so much, Action Jackson. I got your back, buddy. Thank you. Um, and you're not shy to talk, I'd love to have you on like a live, or do an interview with you as a guest on my podcast. Um, I'm excited about that. I really am, because I'm finally like stepping into another thing God told me to do, which was talk more. Say it, get it out there. Um, so on Facebook, I appreciate you guys that have stopped in. Thank you so much. I got about another 30 minutes or so I'm gonna dive back into it. So I want to go through one of the things that I think a lot of us are kind of in that space a little bit. And excuse me. It's like when I drink coffee, I get sleepy. So, acknowledging your emotions. That's what we're going to talk about for the next 20 minutes. John 11:35. It says Jesus wept. So I wrote a book called Even Here, which will be out in the next couple of months. Um, it'll be on Amazon. I'll be sure to share it. But it's a book that focuses on grief and loss. Um, I was in a place where I really needed to understand grieving. And I truly didn't realize that I needed to write this to get through it. So I'm going to read a little bit from it. Here we go. We start at this paragraph. Grief is not a detour, it's part of a sacred path. When loss hits, our instinct might be to suppress the feelings, numb the emotion, or spiritualize away the pain. Healing really does begin with being honest. The Lord doesn't ask us to be strong first, He asks us to simply be real. Don't you remember how Jesus wept? Remember when David cried out? Do you not forget that Hannah poured out her soul? These are all examples of crying. Scripture is full of people who didn't hide their sorrow and God met them right there. So let's start by just acknowledging that you're not a robot, you're human and you're being held. And it's not a weakness to have emotions, it's worship in its rawest form. So for me, so that was just a snippet of a paragraph out of chapter 1 of my Even Here book that's coming out in the next couple of months. I felt like emotions were icky. Hey, Sherelle. We definitely have to be honest and accountable. Yes, I felt like emotions were icky for a long time. Like, ew, why are you crying? Ew, why are you crying? I didn't understand it. I haven't really cried a lot. I think in the last 3 years of being with my husband, I've cried the most. Not because he's making me cry, but because like I have a space. I feel like I have a space with him to actually cry and feel. And it was insane. I went 3.5 years without shedding a tear, and it. I thought at the time that it didn't bother me, but the reality was I was so hyper focused on trying to figure out how to fix myself that I forgot that Jesus wept. And I needed to start being honest with my emotions, but they were so scary because I can go 0 to 100 in many different emotions really quickly. And at one point in my life, I thought I was like bipolar because it would just like switch. But it was because I wasn't regulated in those emotions because I didn't have a space to feel those emotions and I didn't have uh, the wherewithal to acknowledge that I had people. I had a support group, I had community because I didn't want to be a burden and I didn't want people to really ask me about anything or I didn't want to. It was so many different excuses I had. That's all they were. And the reality is, we have to feel our emotions. Jesus never, he didn't say don't be angry. He said do not sin in your anger. I don't think he was happy when he was flipping tables. I don't think he said it with a smile on his face when he asked those boys why they couldn't at least stay woke while he prayed before he walked into his death and resurrection. I don't think he had a smile on his face. Like people want to put a smile on everything. And it's like, no, this stuff is like 4,000 weeks. It's serious. It's nothing to take lightly. And yes, there are smiles. There is love. There is happiness and peace and joy. But there's also sadness and anger and confusion, guilt, numbness, even relief at times. And if we don't acknowledge and be honest with what we're feeling, we tend to lie and create this false version of ourselves that get us nowhere. We don't get anywhere with that. The false version of myself was pretending that everything was okay. I did that for so long. And it wasn't for anything for me to gain, it was for others to gain. And via that, I became an enabler. Therefore, my people pleasing became abusive because I wasn't being honest with myself or with others. Same, yeah. Or with others to allow them to grow. I just like everyone has a purpose in your life. I don't believe that you meet people on accident. People have purpose. Every person you've ever met, you're supposed to learn something from. You're either going to learn what to do or not what not to do. And I can't learn anything if I'm not being honest about who I am. I can't even see that. It's like it's not there. And then they can't learn anything from you or about themselves if you're not being honest with them. And then they in turn have a dishonest outlook that they thought was truth, and it becomes chaotic. It becomes confusing and chaotic. And when we kind of dial it back a little bit and rewind to where I just was, our emotions have a huge part of that chaos because we're not being honest with ourselves about how we feel about people, about things, environments, jobs, everything. We're not being honest. It's like, oh, well, I like my job. No one likes their job 100% all the time. When we go to interviews, we lie about our previous positions and how awesome it was, even though we may have had a terrible manager. Because the honest truth is, if it was that great, we would still be there and not leave that place. When we meet people, we tend to lie as our society tends to do. That's where this whole thing of catfishing and all of that came from, because we're lying about the way we look. We lie about how happy we are in our lives. One of the best things I love about my husband is that he met me in a space where I was rebuilding my life, and I had already gotten to the point where I was, if anyone caught my interest, I was going to be completely honest, so that let's get cuz everybody wants all of the nicey nice stuff and forgets about, that box back there that we have in our lives that has our uglies in it. So I just gave him all the uglies. He thinks I'm pretty, so okay, let me go ahead and hit him with all the uglies. And I hit him with it. And it takes my husband 7 to 10 business days to process information. It does. And so he came back he came back with that information about a week or two later. And he opened that safe space for me. And it's been open ever since. We tend to not do that because we are disingenuous with who we are, because we want to impress people so much. We want to make a good impression. I don't care about an impression. I don't care about that at all. What I care about is what I said earlier. If you're just joining, this is what I said earlier. Um when my father asked me, "Why didn't you do what I said to do?" I don't even want to hear that question. I don't want to hear that question, because that means I was disobedient. That means I allowed people to step in front of my purpose, my God given calling. And so I don't care about making an impression. Um, I appreciate the support. I appreciate the community. I appreciate, and I love you for it. But I'm not here to make an impression on anyone anymore. If you can't take it the way I give it because it's the way it is, then you're just not my people. And that's okay. I had a Instagram page not too long ago, actually, almost 2 years ago, a year or two ago, something like that. And that page, I don't know what happened to it. It's just completely locked out. I had a few thousand followers and all of my little lives were up there. That was going to be the content for my podcast and blah, 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 blah. I had so much up there. I can still view it. I know it wasn't hacked to be used as a smut account or anything like that, but I had this idea and this plan for it that, and then all of a sudden, just nope, that ain't it, girl. And it took me 2 months of trying to get back into that page to realize that God stopped that page for a reason. You can still go look at it. I'm not going to even try to get into it or delete it because I think it's super healthy for people to know where people come from. Go look at where I came from. It's similar to my new Instagram page, Stacey V underscore five spelled out Five, excuse me. And my new one, Stacey V underscore the number five. But yeah, I mean, I had this whole idea, all these little plans, and God was like, "Nope, you're planning too much. That's a good idea, but we're gonna do it actually this way." And so I made a new Instagram page, and I stuck to the simplicity of what He was telling me to do, and to keep it as simple as possible. If we're being honest with ourselves, we already know what it is that we're trying to do. Well, not we're trying to do, that He's trying to get us to do because it's our calling. It's normally the thing that you don't like doing. Look at your life and look at some of the things that you don't want to do. Look at some of the things that kind of make you uncomfortable. Thank you for joining on TikTok, guys. Thank you for the hearts over there. I really appreciate it. The goal is to get 3 new followers. Even if you're on the replay, 3 new followers today. Nothing heavy. I follow, like for like, comment for comment, and share for share. All right. But if you actually look at that and, like I said, take it back to the honesty part. If we're honest about how we feel, honest about where we're at, who we are, things like that, it becomes a lot easier to start hearing what God is trying to tell us to do. Start discerning that this advice that I just received from, I think this is my headphones, to be honest. Start discerning the advice that we're being given. I just told someone the other day, too many cooks in the kitchen to burn the cake. Sometimes you get an overload of advice and you don't know where to go, you don't know what to do. But before that, you knew what to do. You knew where you were wrong, you knew where you were right, you knew what the next step was. And then we go ask other people who, like I said, well intent, they have good intent. But the advice, sometimes a projection, and it's not for you. Um, I do listen to wise counsel and wisdom, but like I said, discernment is very important when you are stepping through these 4 to 6,000 weeks that we make it. It's really 4 to 5. Um, I'm really excited about this book because I had to be honest with myself with that book about grief. I've helped people through grief. I've helped people grieve. I had so much that I needed to grieve. I needed to grieve the loss of myself and rejoice in the finding of myself. I needed to grieve the loss of loved ones that I never had. I needed to grieve the loss of opportunity. I needed to grieve the loss of friendships. There was a lot that I had to grieve because I just was a robot. I was a robot. My daughter, my oldest daughter, she really, she's like, it's like you're robotic. And I'm like, but I'm not, but I was. It was just get this and that and this and that and this and that done. And then do it again. Then do it again and do it again. And the reality was, yes, that routine is great, but where's the emotion? Where's the passion in anything that you're doing? It didn't exist because I wasn't being honest with how I was feeling. Um, so I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you guys for joining me today. I really appreciate the time that you spent. I appreciate the hearts that I received, all the views, the shares. I got your back. I love that. Thank you. I do open book Wednesdays. I try to do it at the same time. Unfortunately, right now I still work full time, so I have to squeeze it in, get it in where I can fit it in. But I really do appreciate all the love and support. Um, the first two books that I've written, they're still available on Amazon and Kindle. They're not really expensive. Um, Go check those out. I have another book that's coming out. Even Here, it's a book about grief. I'll have that posted up. My podcast airs every Monday, every single Monday. Thank you, honey. Thank you. I really, oh my goodness, thank you for the share on Facebook over there, Sherelle. Thank you. My podcast airs every Monday. I'll be able to go live on YouTube soon. I'm getting some stuff unlocked over there under the creator content section in YouTube. So I just appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for sticking with me. Again, if you're watching the replay, um, this isn't a space for fixing me or fixing you. This is just a space to slow down a little bit. So if you like this, I know you're like the episodes that are on my podcast is very laid back, but I hope to see you guys next time. I'll be going live on Friday with our Freak Out Fridays. Let's shake it all out. We're going to go ahead and do whatever crash out we need to do after the work week's over. And I'll see you guys then. Thank you so much. Bye, Facebook. Bye.